So good evening, everyone, all the attendees, all the students. Welcome all of you once again in this masterclass, our webinar masterclass of hematology. So today is our 8th session, or we can say it as a pre-Diwali session. So today's lecture was initially formed to be the CBC and their physicians' understanding regarding the CBC. However, our speaker, Dr. Deepak Mishra, had some issue. So today, just afternoon, I got the message that he would not be able to conduct this talk. And we requested Dr. Pankaj Malhotra sir to have some talk so that we can continue our session. And he readily get agreed on that. And not agreed on that, he has also chosen a very good topic, most interesting topic, like learning hematology through images only. So you see the patient clinically and you guess the diagnosis. It's a great things of learning. Regarding Pankaj Malhotra sir, he is a very well-known name in the field of hematology oncology. He has done his academics from various institutes, national as well as international, and he is a member of National Academy of Medical Science. He has also received the fellow of Royal College of Physicians, London. Not that important, but the more important thing, his teaching attitude. He is one of the, we can say, teacher for many DM oncologists, hematologists in the country. So to continue our session, to get the insight about the hematology through various images and the clinical pictures, I hand over further to the Dr. Pankaj Malhotra, sir. Sir.
Thank you, Dr. Sanket, and it's my pleasure to share my views on hematology through images with all the medicine residents. And it is, you can say, I am more selfish because I want, if I can induce some people or medicine resident into hematology, so that means my purpose of my talk is done.
Just 10 minutes, can I call you back?
So so it is learning in hematology through images, and we would start from the eyes. So what you can do is all the residents who are sitting in front of their screen, so they can guess what exactly it is and what are the causes, and then they can match with whatever I'm showing. So you can see that there is a large ecchymosis around the eyes here also, and even it is there on the right side, and there are some bleeding spots at the lips. So this kind of a bleeding actually is due to thrombocytopenia, and I'm sure in the last few lectures you have learned about thrombocytopenia and thrombosis, so most of the images would focus on that only. Another eye, but can you make a difference with the previous pic? Here it is more reddish kind of a thing. There is a bleeding here, so there is a difference between the last pic and this pic. So obviously this is not, there is a fullness in the left eye, and this is a patient of aplastic anemia who actually had zygomycosis. Some of you can really see that there is some fullness even in the left maxillary sinus also as compared to the right side. So this is actually some cellulitis as well as fungal infection of the eye. Now this guy, who is a 27-year-old male, he has swelling and redness in the right eye for the last 1 month, and you can see there is a full swelling on the involving only the right eye. So can you guess what exactly it is? This is a PET CT scan of this patient, and you can see that there is involvement of both the eyes as well as the whole of intestine and the lymph nodes. So this patient who underwent a biopsy, this was suggestive of a diffuse large B-cell lymphoma. The treatment of diffuse large B-cell lymphoma is R-CHOP. R is immunotherapy, rituximab, and CHOP is the standard chemotherapy which is given for high-grade lymphoma or diffuse large B-cell lymphoma. Okay. Okay. So another eye, almost same what you have seen in the previous pic. Again, this eye, only involving the left eye, but there is again more redness as you saw in the second pic. So this is patient of acute myeloid leukemia. So the first possibility is whether these are leukemic infiltrates, but this was actually a cellulitis, and once we treated the cellulitis, this eye became normal. Another eye, it's a you can see that the cornea is coming out of this eye. There is so much of fullness in the left eye, and obviously there are tears coming out of this bulging, almost the bulging of left eye. But these were this time had leukemic infiltrates, patient of acute lymphoblastic leukemia who had leukemic infiltrates in the left eye. Another one, the full involving the left eye only. Can you guess? This patient actually had non-Hodgkin lymphoma, so this was a lymphomatous involvement. And the good thing is, after first cycle of CHOP chemotherapy, this patient, you can see that the there is this whole swelling is gone. There is still some residual swelling which is left. So this patient, this picture is quite old, almost 2001 or 2. So rituximab was not available at that time. Rituximab came into India in 2003. So after 4 cycles of CHOP therapy, you can see almost the whole of the swelling is gone. So there are gratifying results when it is leukemic or lymphoma infiltrates. So here is a young boy who had swelling in the left eye as well as in the right eye. So you have seen this kind of a pic in the previous slides also, the cornea and the coming out of this swelling, redness. But this time there is involvement in the right eye. So this patient was acute lymphoblastic leukemia. So acute lymphoblastic leukemia patients have central nervous system involvement. So this is because of the same. But again, after giving chemotherapy, you can see this eye has almost become normal. In the left eye, you can see there is a corneal opacity which is left. But gratifying results once you give chemotherapy to these patients. Okay. Little hazy picture, but you can see there is a bleed in the right eye. So this is a thrombocytopenic bleed. So again, I'm showing you the spectrum so that you can able to make some difference, on visualizing the eyes and make some guess whether it is because of cellulitis, because of thrombocytopenia, leukemic infiltrate, or lymphoma infiltrate. Okay, left eye. Can you see this nodule? Any people, guess? I don't know whether somebody can write in the chat box. Okay, these nodules. This is a little hazy, but you can see in the right ear also. Can you see that? Okay, so these are amyloid deposits. So this is patient of myeloma with the myeliodosis, and he presented actually with these deposits. And when he was investigated, a biopsy from this area showed amyloid, and the rest of the workup showed multiple myeloma. He had primary amyloidosis with multiple myeloma, who later on went on to undergo autologous stem cell transplant also. Okay, 68 years old lady who presented with torticollis. You can see, you can guess from here. Now, can you see the eyes? Can you guess what is there? This pupil is normal, but this pupil is small, right? So there is meiosis. So this is a patient of Horner syndrome. So what is Horner syndrome? Most of the time it is because of the Pancoast tumor, and from your medicine knowledge, you know the this is the sympathetic trunk which is there. So anything which is involving this part, either because of the tumor or anything else, can cause Horner syndrome. And again, this is a more elaborate picture because the fibers are coming from the pons and medulla and going towards the pupil. So anything in the path of these nerves can produce Horner syndrome. In this patient, the biopsy, there was a cervical mass and the biopsy was suggestive of diffuse large B-cell lymphoma. Let me tell you here, all the photograph permission and publications, there was a written consent. So we cannot take the picture of the patient without their consent, and I cannot share this information without the consent of the patient. So all the photographic permissions and for sharing this pics with all the residents or with other people, the consent was taken. Okay, now from the eyes, let's now move to the mouth. So you can teeth, there is a blackening of the teeth. This patient actually is a case of aplastic anemia. Now, why there is a blackening of this teeth? So some of you who have been looking after the patients who are on immunosuppressive medications, or some patients who are neutropenic, what do you suggest them to the patients for preventing infection? So the infections actually come from either from the mouth, mucosa, anal region, nose. So these are the area from where the infections can come in the neutropenic patients. So aplastic anemia, unless their counts are okay, they are mostly neutropenic. And for preventing the infections from the mouth, generally we suggest to ask them to do a hexidine or a chlorhexidine mouthwash. But if they continue to do chlorhexidine mouthwash, there can be hexidine staining of the teeth. So this is hexidine staining of teeth in a patient of aplastic anemia. Okay. Now here there is a gum hypertrophy here. This is classical patient of acute myeloid leukemia of M4 or M5. Yes, Dr. Kirtan Soni has guessed it right. This is AML M4. Okay. Okay. Any guesses here? So this is a patient of aplastic anemia. Now, any guess? The treatment for aplastic anemia is ATG and cyclosporin. So this is cyclosporin induced gum hypertrophy. Okay. What are the other drugs which can cause gum hypertrophy? You can write in the chat box. Okay, dilantin sodium. Yes, somebody has written phenytoin, good. And calcium channel blockers like amlodipine. Okay, good. Okay. Another gum, little hazy picture, but this you won't be able to guess. This is actually involvement by non-Hodgkin lymphoma. The FNSE was done from this area that suggested of involvement by high-grade non-Hodgkin lymphoma. Another tongue. You can see large hematoma here, some nodularity here. This is actually the bleed because of thrombocytopenia. And there was some leukemic infiltrate also. Okay, another gum hypertrophy. This is AML M4. Okay, this one you should be able to guess. The tongue, the white tongue. Any guesses? Okay, this is Candida, oral candidiasis. So patients who are on immunosuppressive medications, the examination of mouth is the most important part of the clinical examination. Okay. What is this? Okay, this is a large aphthous ulcer. This is because of the chemotherapy. So, so even if you develop a small aphthous ulcer, you know how painful it is. And sometimes chemotherapy can cause these large ulcers. So you can imagine the problems which happens in those patients who are on chemotherapy. So there are medicines which are available to take care of this. Okay. This is a bleed which has happened in a patient of hemophilia. So generally the patients with hemophilia present with joint bleeds. So the most common presentation is joint bleed, but sometimes patients with hemophilia, if they, bite their tongue, it can, bleed in the tongue also. Okay. So here, this tongue, you can see this is, there is a bleed in this tongue, obviously, which is little older. And this is an old patient. From, the face, you can say he's a quite an elderly patient. So somebody, elderly patient who comes with this bleed. So this is a patient of acquired hemophilia. So acquired hemophilia is when elderly patients or pregnant female patients or patients with autoimmune disorders, they develop antibodies against factor 8 or factor 9. Then they can present with the atypical bleeds, mostly in the skin and soft tissues rather than in the joints. So patients with acquired hemophilia, they comes with bleed in the skin and soft tissues. So this was a patient of acquired hemophilia. Okay. Again, focus on the tongue. What is there on the tongue? Can you see? Yes, somebody has put a glossitis. Yes, there is a glossitis, but what else? You can see there are teeth marks. 1, 2, 3. Here also there are some teeth marks. So when does this happen? This happens when the tongue is enlarged. Okay. Somebody has guessed it. Macroglossia. Yes, Sai Krishna has guessed it right. This is macroglossia. So macroglossia amyloidosis. Bhavin Patel has said amyloidosis. Very good. Kirtan Soni has good. Very good. Thank you so much. Now you are getting involved into this. I like this. Good. So this was a 60-year-old female who had difficulty in manipulating food with tongue in the mouth and difficulty in protruding tongue out of the mouth because of macroglossia. So this is a closed picture. You can see the teeth mark on the side of the tongue. Okay. So this was amyloidosis associated with multiple myeloma. Okay. What is this? Going hard palate, going to the soft palate. This is a 36-year-old lady, case of acute leukemia on treatment. Yes, candidiasis. She's also known case of diabetes mellitus. So somebody diabetes, somebody has leukemia treatment. So, and she came complain with dysphagia. So this is candidiasis, right? Okay. This is another patient of acute leukemia, and she was given some chemotherapy. Mucosal bleed, yes, cheilitis. Okay, but there is something more to this. So I'm giving you the history in this patient, that this patient is a patient of acute leukemia who received some form of chemotherapy, and these are chemotherapy induced problem. On day 1, T lineage who received high dose methotrexate, diffuse oral mucosal ulcers and restricted mouth opening. And on day 3, her mucosal lesions worsened and she had temperature of 101. So you can see when these patients receive high dose methotrexate, which is in the tune of 3 to 5 gram per meter square. That means almost 7 to 8 grams of methotrexate which they receive. Stevens-Johnson, kind of a thing, but Stevens-Johnson will involve rest of the skin also. So this is only in the mouth and mucosa. So this is typical of methotrexate. Febrile neutropenia, methotrexate side effects, yes. So she was given supportive care, GCSF, antibiotics, and she recovered completely. By day 14, you can see all this almost healthy mucosa, which you can see. Okay, 40-year-old lady with dysphagia to solids. What do you see here? Can you see? What is this? So this was a tonsil, large tonsils, which was almost, obstructing the food passage. So that's why there was a dysphagia. So, and biopsy from the tonsillar mass was suggestive of diffuse large B-cell lymphoma. I'm not sure whether you are able to make it. Again, tonsils only. But here, this was a patient of acute myeloid leukemia, and there was a tonsillar infiltration by leukemia. Chloroma, yes, you can say, or granulocytic sarcoma. But there is small difference between chloroma and granulocytic sarcoma, and that is you people to read. Dr. Kirtan Soni says, can it occur on day 3? Ideally day, yes. I think this is related to methotrexate toxicity. Yes, sometimes it can happen early also. But you are right that most of the time it happens after a week, but sometimes it can happen early also. Okay. Another pic, redness here. And again, I think these are again tonsils. This was a CML with T myeloid blastocysts with tonsillar involvement. Okay. This is involvement of the hard pellet. Can you see this mass? This was a 42-year-old male with hard pellet involvement. Any guesses? So biopsy from this showed mantle cell lymphoma. Mantle cell lymphoma is another kind of a mostly the high-grade lymphomas. Okay, can you make some difference from the face? This part, you can see there is some fullness. Okay, so this was a previous patient only who had mantle cell lymphoma. So he had a mass in this part of the body on the hard pellet, and that's why there is a fullness, and which the biopsy showed mantle cell lymphoma. So next patient, again there is fullness in this part of the face, and there is a pressure on the eyes. That's why you can see this eye is kind of a shrunken, and see, you can see even the nose also is involved. So I think in the next pic, 40 years old male complains of facial pain and headache. Okay, this was the picture of hard pellet. Large mass with ulcers in the hard pellet going to the soft pellet. This was a NK T cell lymphoma. I'm not sure how many of you have seen this. Mostly happens in the China, Japan, Taiwan, but even in India also, in the eastern part and in the southern part of the country, you can see NK T cell lymphoma. The differential diagnosis obviously is Wegener's granulomatosis. And what is the new name of Wegener's granulomatosis? It is GPA, granulomatous polyangiitis, or the other differential diagnosis is mucormycosis or aspergillosis. Now we go to the images of the face. Okay. Any guesses? You can see these lesions all over the face. This patient is a case of hairy cell leukemia. So any guesses what can happen in hairy cell leukemia? It is not involvement by leukemia. Anything else which can happen in hairy cell leukemia? Okay, this is the vasculitic. Somebody has said mycosis fungoides. No, it's a good guess. But in hairy cell leukemia, PAN. Yes, I think Suketu Dave has guessed it right. Very good. Yes, polyarteritis nodosa, which can happen in hairy cell leukemia. So this was a vasculitis in hairy cell leukemia. Okay. Any guesses here? Elderly female coming with this complaint only. Okay, so this is plasmacytoma. So sometimes these bony plasmacytomas involve the head and neck region, and so these are single plasmacytoma. There is no multiple myeloma, and the treatment is radiation. This is another patient of myeloma who has plasmacytoma of the forehead. Okay. Elderly male who actually it was very difficult to make a diagnosis, who said he's over a period of few years, maybe 2 years or so, he has noted that there is a blackening of the face which is happening, and there are 1 or 2 ulcers. So this was actually CTCL, cutaneous T-cell lymphoma. The biopsy from these lesions shows cutaneous T-cell lymphoma. But the interesting part was that he said, the blackening of the skin which is happening. This is kind of a rare thing. Mostly it is the erythema which happens in these patients. This is a little hazy picture. This is actually ear pinna, and this is the posterior side of that. You can see the nodal lesions. So this was again a patient of cutaneous T-cell lymphoma. So this is again CTCL. Okay, this is medicine. Can you see on the buttock region these are what are these? Any guesses? These are angiomas. Any guesses now? In a young boy. This was present all over the body, including so what is BRBS? This is a case of BRBS. Any guesses? The full form of BRBS? I hope you all had your dermatology posting. This is blue rubber bleb syndrome. I hope, have you heard of this? Otherwise, read about this. So another picture of showing angiomas. BRBS. Okay. Another patient, but these are again angiomas, but little different. This patient also had thrombocytopenia. Any guesses? Somebody who has these angiomas present with thrombocytopenia. The phenomena is called Kesebeck-Merritt. Bhavin, Bhavin is guessing it right. Yes, this is Kesebeck-Merritt syndrome. So this is a Kesebeck-Merritt phenomena when there is a angiomas and there is thrombocytopenia. Okay, involvement of the front part of the ear. This is a rare patient. I think he was a patient of PLL, NHL infiltration. Okay. Yeah, this is another patient who had actually come with only involvement of the scalp. The biopsy was suggestive of again non-Hodgkin lymphoma, and after chemotherapy, CHOP 6 cycles, again a very old picture. Okay. 4 on the forehead, what is this? Very common. Any guesses? You should be able to guess this one. Tinea, yes. Akshay has guessed it right. Yes, this is tinea. Yes, common, very common. Yeah, ringworm. He's a 21-year-old acute lymphoblastic leukemia patient on maintenance therapy. Yeah. Dermatophytosis. Okay. Okay, this in the hematology clinic, this is a very common kind of a complaint. दवा खाने के बाद मेरी त्वचा गहरे रंग की हो गई है. If you have done your hematology posting, this is one of the disease which is most common disease in the hematology clinic or oncology clinics, and we consider this disease as curable malignancy these days, and it is treated by a magic bullet. So I'll show you some of the pictures. Can you see? So I'll give you time to guess the magic bullet. You can see. Again, you can see this blackening on the nose. Again, some blackening, some here, some here. Any guesses? Here, here. So a leukemia which is now curable with the availability of magic bullet. You can see. Again, a full spectrum of patients. See here also. I'm not seeing any guesses here. Okay, somebody has guessed. Imatinib. Yes, Sanket has said it right. No, it is not AMLM3. This is because of the imatinib. Imatinib is, yes, chronic myeloid leukemia. All patients have chronic myeloid leukemia. So this is imatinib induced skin hypopigment. Actually, it's not the hyperpigmentation. It is the rest of the skin becomes hyperpigmented, and it appears that there is a hyperpigmentation and seen in almost 60% of patients. Okay. Now we go to the images of hands and nails. Okay. What are these? It's a CML patient on hydroxyurea. Okay, so in the previous, when imatinib was not available, many of the patients received hydroxyurea. So this is because of the hydroxyurea, although hydroxyurea will also cause some skin blackening also, blackening on the tongue also. Okay, this one. Okay, so this is the same patient and the hydroxyurea was replaced with imatinib. So you can see that how much time does it take for the new nail to appear? Any guesses? So I have already written 3 months. So it can take 6 to 12 weeks. So this was hydroxyurea induced hyperpigmentation. Okay. Again, hyperpigmentation on the nails and on the knuckles. On the knuckles. Yes. All the fingers are also black, and this is all hydroxyurea. Yes, tongue also. Yeah, so this is called melanonychia and skin hyperpigmentation due to hydroxyurea, which happens more on the skin than on the nails, more common in women. And there is a photosensitization and direct stimulation involving the nail matrix. It is dose duration dependent, but there is a genetic predisposition also. And there is a stimulation of corresponding melanocytes and deposition of melanin in the nail bed. So 7 months to 5 years after hydroxyurea therapy, this can happen. Okay, another hyperpigmentation of the knuckles. Patient has anemia. Some tingling sensations. Guesses? Pure vegetarian. Can you guess? Megaloblastic B12 deficiency. Yes, 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 yes. Akash, oh, a lot of people have diagnosed this as yes, B12 deficiency. Although, can you diagnose clinically whether it is B12 or folic acid? Can this happens in folic acid deficiency also? Okay, food for thought. Megaloblastic anemia. Okay. CNS involvement means B12 deficiency. Yes, Siddharth has guessed it right. Okay. Sneha says nuchal hyperpigmentation also. Okay. So here again there is hyperpigmentation. This is again megaloblastic anemia. Okay. This you should be able to guess. The nails. Koilonychia, Akshay and Akash. Koilonychia, yes. These are spoon-shaped nails. So this is Koilonychia, happens in cause. Sneha, Suketu, all have guessed it right. Jana also, Anand, iron deficiency. Yes, yes, yes. Good, very good. Yes, iron deficiency. Plummer-Vinson, when do you call it Plummer-Vinson? And whether it is Plummer-Vinson or Patterson-Carey syndrome. Any difference between the Plummer-Vinson syndrome and Patterson-Carey syndrome? Associated with esophageal web. Yes, Akash has guessed it right. When the patients of iron deficiency complain of dysphagia, and if you do the endoscopy, you might find esophageal web. Although in many patients you may not find it, because when you are doing the endoscopy, the web actually gets ruptured, so you are not able to see the webs. Dysphagia, yes. But what is the difference between Plummer-Vinson syndrome and Patterson-Carey syndrome? Hypochlor, no. So, okay, both are same, but there is a controversy whether we should name it Plummer-Vinson or Patterson-Carey, because there is a controversy who described it first. So long back in 1999, I have written this about this controversy in Indian Journal of Gastroenterology. So people who are interested can go through that. Okay. So this was iron deficiency anemia. Okay. Iron deficiency. Okay. Bluish discoloration of left thumb, index and middle finger. Can you see? Little difficult to find out, but yes, there is some bluish discoloration here. Any guesses? Raynaud's, acrocyanosis. Raynaud's, do you think will happen only in 2 fingers? Arterial thrombus, yes. Now, yes, Dr. Jan, I don't know. Not able to guess the name. Yes, thrombosis. Akash also said the same. Yes, so this was in a 70-year-old female. And there were some ulcers on the foot also. Ulceration lesions over grade 2 and 5th toe. So query atherosclerosis, query acute arterial embolism, or myeloproliferative disorder like polycythemia vera or myelofibrosis. The hemoglobin was 17. and the bone marrow was consistent with myeloproliferative disorder, JAK2 positive. That means it was polycythemia vera. Okay. Polycythemia vera. Yes. Akash has said that. Yes. Okay. What is this? This is erythromyalgia. So many of the patients with polycythemia vera or with high hemoglobin complains of burning in the hands. And when you see the hands, they are red. They are kind of a, you will say that there is kind of erythema. This is called erythromyalgia. Okay. And the left index finger, there is a thrombus. This is again, but okay, this is polycythemia vera with vasculitis. Okay. Gangrenous, it has not, yeah, some gangrene which is happening, but it was vasculitis. So sometimes it is difficult to differentiate what exactly, whether it is a small vessel thrombus or a large vessel or a venous or a arterial. So that you have to differentiate, and there are various parameters which can help you to differentiate. Okay, again there is a redness on the palm, but there are some ulcers here. This was CTCL, cutaneous T-cell lymphoma. Okay, can you see the difference? This head is fully red. I have seen in my last 25 years only one patient like this. Okay, so he was a case of non-Hodgkin lymphoma and was on chemotherapy, but was also receiving transfusion. So he presented with pancytopenia, severe pancytopenia, diarrhea, and his hands were red like this. Girish, where is the chat box? Okay, what are the guesses? Actually, I showed for a few seconds. What is this? This is a very rare. You may or may not be able to see any of this patient in carrier, but you have to suspect somebody who comes with diarrhea, somebody who comes with involvement of palms and involvement of foot and has pancytopenia. This is transfusion associated graft versus host disease. No, this is not HUS. This is, as I said, this I have seen only one patient in whole of my career. This was a young patient who was a patient of lymphoma, but was receiving transfusion also. And this patient finally died. We got the autopsy also. And then it was all graft versus host disease. So to prevent this, what do you do? To prevent transfusion associated graft versus host disease, what do you do? Okay, you generally wear irradiated blood. Yes, so Ketu has guessed it right, that you have to irradiate blood. And what is one, what are the malignancies where you have to give irradiated blood? One is the post-transplant. Any patient who has undergone bone marrow transplant, he has to receive irradiated blood. But two other conditions. One is Hodgkin's lymphoma. Preferably Hodgkin's lymphoma, if they are getting blood, they should receive irradiated blood. And patients who are receiving fludarabine. Okay. Okay, another picture of hand, gangrene, which is happening. So this is, okay, this was a patient of antiphospholipid antibody syndrome who had presented with this kind of a thrombosis, and you can see the gangrene which has happened. Okay, now we go to the last part, miscellaneous images. The ulcer on the near the ankle. This is a hemoglobinopathies. Okay, venous ulcer, yes, it's a venous ulcer, but this was happened because of hemoglobinopathy in this patient. Okay, this patient was a case of deep vein thrombosis and was receiving warfarin and came with this lesion on the abdomen, some blackening and the erythema. Skin necrosis, yes, this is Akash has guessed it right. This is warfarin induced skin necrosis, very rare thing. And when did this happens? And why does this happen? Not calciphylaxis. No, it happens because of the yes proteins, and Keith has said protein C deficiency, relative protein C deficiency. If you don't give the, if you don't overlap with heparin. Yes, so if you start, yeah, so you have to overlap with heparin so that the relative protein C deficiency does not happen, and these patient do not develop this. Yeah, yes, a lot of people have guessed it right now. Okay, warfarin-induced skin necrosis. Okay. Okay, this is another interesting picture. This is umbilicus. This is again picture of abdomen, but you can see here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Can you see this? These are you know, spots of varying ages. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is very interesting actually. You may not be able to guess it, but it is important to see and remember this picture. You know, in the rural villages of especially Haryana, if any patient who has been found to have massive splenomegaly, they go to the indigenous medicine. So what they do is, these people, they take a burning rod and they put it on the abdomen. I don't know. No, this is not Kala Azar. So any cause which is you know, large spleen. So can you imagine a burning rod is put on the spleen, and that's why these are the scar marks of the burning rods. I don't know how people, you know, do that. So this is a patient. Okay, Dr. Janak said that he has seen this. Good. So this patient was actually a case of myelofibrosis, who has a large spleen, and then he came to PGI and had this indigenous treatment for splenomegaly. Okay. Again, only one patient I have seen in my many years. Any guesses? What is this? Sister Mary Joseph. Yes, Cure has guessed it right. This is a Sister Joseph nodule, and the cause is okay. So this patient was a patient of chronic myeloid leukemia, gastric carcinoma. Yes, Sai Krishna has guessed it right. Yes, Suketu also, and Monica also. Yes. So GI malignancy basically. So this patient was a chronic myeloid leukemia and was on imatinib. But when he came with this, we thought, okay, he has gone into blast crisis. But when we did the FNSE and it came out to be parietal cell carcinoma of stomach, we did the then upper GI endoscopy also in this patient. So this is Sister Joseph nodule. Okay. 64-year-old gentleman, Hodgkin's lymphoma on ABVD chemotherapy, comes with blackening of the skin. So if I don't give the history, you will say this is hydroxyurea induced skin pigmentation, but nail involvement is not much. But this was a patient of Hodgkin's lymphoma. So there is a lot of blackening, face also. So bleomycin, yes, guessed it right. Who guessed it right? Suketu, okay. So you can see post chemotherapy. Okay, so you can see the difference, the blackening and after stoppage of chemotherapy, remarkable difference. So bleomycin induced hyperpigmentation. Okay. Another case of Hodgkin's lymphoma with skin complaints. Okay. Can you see on the back, patient of Hodgkin's lymphoma, on the front also, on the legs also, and after treatment with AVT, it was taken immediately. So there is some resolution, although it is not complete resolution, some resolution. So this is actually skin involvement by Hodgkin's lymphoma. The skin manifestation in patient of Hodgkin's lymphoma can be pruritus, hyperpigmentation, urticaria, erythroderma, acquired ichthyosis, ulcers, nodules, which was there in this patient, and this happens in 17 to 53% of patients. These are all paraneoplastic manifestations of Hodgkin's lymphoma. Direct tumor infiltration is rare. Okay. Next patient, acute myeloid leukemia, FLT3 positive, skin nodules. Nodules, some nodules here. So this is leukemia cutis. This is found in 2 to 3% patients of acute myeloid leukemia, and this put the patient into a poor prognostic group, and there is extramedullary involvement. Highest rate of skin involvement happen in M4 and M5. I have already shown you gum hypertrophy, but sometimes this happens in ALL, CML, all those leukemias. Okay. Another patient, large nodular lesions on the leg, large nodular lesions. Skin. This is a patient of anaplastic large cell lymphoma. Okay, another picture of eye, right eye, large, this happens in India. You can see these pictures only in India because the patients come at a very late stage to the hospital. These nodules were there on the leg also. So this was multiple myeloid sarcomas. So multiple myeloid sarcomas in a patient, I think, underlying acute myeloid leukemia. Okay, this is a benign swelling on the leg, and there is some swelling below the knee also. The known case of hemophilia. This is a pseudotumor. So what is a pseudotumor in a patient of hemophilia? Anybody can define what is a pseudotumor and why it is called a pseudotumor? Okay, so organized hematoma, Akshay has guessed it right. Yes, bleeding in muscles. So yes, the bleeding in muscles, and when it becomes a chronic bleed, so in that part the bleeding continue to happen if these patients remain untreated, and finally that hematoma undergoes a lot of necrosis, and then there is a pseudo lining, and it infiltrates the muscle, the bones, and damages the bones. That's why it is called pseudotumor. Okay, 61-year-old, recent onset swelling with ecchymosis. So this is the back of the patient. So you can see the large swelling with ecchymosis. Large swelling with ecchymosis. Yeah, this picture. Okay, right side. This was a factor 13 deficiency in an elderly patient. Okay, it's already 1 hour, so I'm going now quickly. This is again ecchymosis. This is a patient, a bleeding disorder, hemophilia. Okay, this another patient, large swelling, but the skin is now kind of a blackish, pigmented. DVT, yes, but DVT, what happens in a patient of DVT after few months if it is don't treat it properly? This is a post-phlebitic syndrome. So this is post-phlebitic. That means that if you even if you treat the DVT, but many patients do develop almost 30 to 40% develop this pigmentation kind of a thing. Okay, this I have already said. So sometimes you see it in a patient who is very high grade fever. So you will see these vesicles in febrile neutropenic patients on the chest also. This is Miliaria crystallina. This is a sand crystal like rash because of the blockage of sweat glands and occur mostly in tropical regions secondary to heat and humidity, and is predisposed by high grade fever, hypernatremia and neutropenia. The patients are asymptomatic and lesions resolve spontaneously by keeping the affected area cool and dry. Okay, another patient, X-ray of the skull. You can guess it, right? Guess. This should guess. This is classical. This is classical. Thalassemia, hair on and pepper. Yes, Keyur has get it right. Sai Krishna, Mansi Gupta. Yes, this is what you have to say. This is hair on and appearance, which are long, thin vertical striations that resembles hairs standing on the end. Overactivity of red marrow in response to anemia. Marrow hyperplasia widens the diploic space and thins the outer table. Trabecular destruction with thickening of the residual trabecula. And the alternating opaque thickened trabecula and radiolucent hyperplastic marrow produces the hair on and appearance. Okay, the final image. Can you see the skin back? It's a rare thing. This is a patient who was a 16-year-old girl. She was a case of relapsed acute myeloid leukemia, underwent allogenic transplant, and she had acute GVHD, graft versus host disease. So this is a graft versus host disease of the skin. So to diagnose hematological disorders in clinical practice, you have to be hematologist. No, you have to be internist. So that's why if you are a good internist, if you are a good medicine resident, you can diagnose most of the hematological disorders. And I acknowledge my faculty and our DM residents, so many of them, Dr. Ram, Aditya, Deepak, Ashok, Rintu, Rajiv, Nishant, Ranjan, and Charanpreet, and all the patients who willingly gave permission for research and teaching. Thank you very much. And if there are any questions, I would be happy to take for another maybe 5 minutes or so.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. It was a very nice lecture and all the images. Probably it's a long collection over years.
Yeah, this was a collection. Yeah.
But it was nice, sir. Extremely beautiful and informative. Anyone wants to ask any questions regarding any? I think it was an imaging lecture, so but still. Sandeep sir.
Oh, thank you, Pankaj, accepting this as a last moment.
Yeah, most welcome. Teaching, if I am free, then there is no problem in teaching the residents. I love teaching. So thank you for involving me in sharing this talk with the residents. And I hope, as I said, this is, my selfish talk, that if some of the residents can take hematology as their career, then I would be very happy. And I would say that, yes, the purpose of my talk is done.
Okay. Okay, so there are no other questions. So we'll end this session. For the next session, there is Diwali, so we will not be doing it. And after that, probably the session that we are going to hold today will be taken after Diwali. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Good night,
Take
sir.
care. Bye-bye. Good night. Good night.
Bye.